All right, and welcome everyone. Thanks for coming today. Again, my name is Tom from MCC, and then we have Christy Fogel. She's actually one of our math faculty. So she's here today to help me with this presentation because we would like to talk about our kind of adventure over the last year and a half. And I got to start this presentation off though with an apology. I apologize for the title of this presentation. I've had several people sarcastically thank me for getting this song stuck in their head. And to be honest with you, it was stuck in my head when I was trying to come up with a name of the presentation. It's probably easy for all of you, but for me it was like the hardest thing ever to do was to just come up with the name. So I went with a song. So again, I apologize whether you like the song or not. It's kind of annoying to have it stuck in your head. I was gonna promise never to do it again, but I think I might. This might be my thing. I'm gonna have a song title each year and then develop a session from there. No, but what we want to do today is really kind of talk to you about our journey over the last year and a half. My favorite thing about CIT is how we can all kind of share our stories of what we're doing on campus. It's pretty rare that we get to spend time in a room with other folks that are doing what we do, that have the same goals, have the same struggles, the same things we're trying to do. And what I've loved over the past 2 years, this is my third year at CIT, what I've loved the most over the past 3 years is hearing those stories from you all and kind of taking these little things back to my institution and then trying to implement them and having those things help us along the way. So I hope that, I know for myself that I'm gonna get a lot of that from you all over this next week, but I hope that you're able to take some things that we've done at MCC over the past year and a half and implement them if they're useful at your institution. So our story started about a year and a half ago when our new director, Larry Dugan, who's sitting right here, he's an awesome guy, he's my boss. I'm not just saying that because he's in the room and he's my boss. So Larry came on the scene and really wanted to, he had some ideas. We rebranded ourselves as the virtual campus, and one of his first initiatives, one of his first kind of charges for us was he wanted to offer a couple Open SUNY Plus degrees from MCC. So step one was identifying, okay, what are those degrees going to be? Math was one, and sports management was the other. But the next step was we had to take a step back and take a look at what we were doing on campus as far as course development. How are we making sure of the quality of our online courses? We had to take a step back and look at that. Now, at the same time, the Oscar rubric was kind of being pushed out about a year and a half ago, around that time. And the Oscar process, that course review process was also being promoted. So we had kind of this meeting of, we want to kind of reevaluate what we're doing at MCC. We also have these new tools that are kind of coming at us. So how can we take that and then really rework what we've been doing and just kind of overhaul that? And I would say there's 4 components that we really kind of clung to and we really focused on. And we're gonna go over each of these throughout this presentation. And I'm also at the end of this presentation, we're gonna talk about how it went. Christy's gonna chime in about what went good, what went bad. And we're just gonna talk about how that went on the faculty, from the faculty's point of view. So the instructional design team was a major component. I'm going to talk about what that means for us at MCC. The course development process, we really reworked kind of our timeline of how we developed courses. We really nailed that down. And I have to, is there anyone here from Oswego? Because they really helped us out with that. You can tell them I thanked them if you run into anybody. The Oscar rubric, of course, we implemented that. And a lot of what we did revolved around that rubric. And then kind of as a byproduct, but also an essential piece was our course template that we developed for our online courses. The first piece, the instructional design team. Previous to our revamp, it was pretty traditional. We would develop a course. It was pretty much the instructional designer and the faculty member. I know that's, that works. That's kind of what we were doing. And that's kind of that one-on-one relationship. And I was comfortable with that. we wanted to pursue this instructional design team approach to course development, and I have to be honest, I was not super excited about doing that, but my new boss was telling me this is what we're going to do now. It's a good idea. And it is a really good idea. Promise. No, at first I was really skeptical because I was comfortable with the one-on-one relationship with the faculty member. The two of us are going to come side by side. We're going to map out the course. We're going to develop this course, and I was okay with that. For me, having a librarian and the multimedia specialist around the table right from the get-go, and this wasn't the right way to look at it, but I was thinking, well, here's some other kind of variables that could kind of, be a little more, this could be a bigger challenge. But what I found out was that these meetings that we had have been so fruitful. The conversations around the table have been amazing. And I would definitely recommend, if you haven't tried starting the course development process as a team, to really give it a shot. I'll give an example of last summer we were developing one of the sports management courses. I think it was sports marketing. And the multimedia specialist said, hey, what if we took some interviews from folks around the community? And our faculty member had some connections with some folks in the community, some people who own their own businesses, things like that. And so we were able to shoot some really neat interviews with these folks and then take them back, kind of chop them up, put them in the courses. And they really made for some engaging pieces of these sports management courses. And now we have these as well to use in other courses. Now, would that have happened if he wasn't there around the table right from day one? Maybe. Maybe the faculty member and I would have kind of come up with that. It's possible. But then again, who was going to do it? So having everyone around the table, all those people, was really super helpful in the development of the course. And Christy, I'd like, if you want to share maybe what your thoughts were kind of coming into that and what your experience was, because it was new to everybody.
It was very new to all of us, especially as a faculty member. That's one of the things I want to say is we, as faculty members, there's a few of us in the room, we're the content experts, we're not the design experts. Now, I've been teaching online, it's at least 10 years, maybe more. And I thought my course was beautiful until we started looking at all the different courses, everything within the courses, and what the instructional design. When I started teaching online, we didn't have an instructional designer working with us. I came up with what I thought, I'm math, I understand logic, I know what these students are thinking and where to go and how to get to things. No, I realized afterwards that I wasn't as efficient as I thought I was. So the team approach, I'll tell you, I was skeptical at first, but afterwards I was very happy we did this.
Great, thanks. That's good news. We didn't rehearse that.
I didn't, no.
We didn't.
No, we didn't even talk about that.
That was authentic. So again, that's one of the things, and I'm glad you touched on that, because especially for those, we applied this whole process not only to new courses being developed, but also courses that were being refreshed.
Existing.
So one thing that I was thinking was, oh man, what is it going to be like with the faculty member there, and we're looking at their course, and are they going to feel kind of like on the spot? But it hasn't been like that yet.
No.
And now
I did at first, but then
Yeah.
I realized, well, you guys aren't digging into my course and pulling it apart. You're just giving me ideas, suggestions,
Right.
and not about my content.
Right. So this is kind of, if this is helpful, great. If not, you can ignore it. I have a few links like this throughout the presentation. They all start, with goo.gl/ and then 6 characters. That is an O, by the way, not a 0, just so you know. B2O9Y7. This is just basically, it's a one-page document. It's what I've put together for our agenda for the initial team meeting. So if you want to take that, actually, Christy, would you mind clicking on that link? I just want to show everybody. It goes to Google Drive. So if you're not familiar with Google Drive, it'll do it. It just takes a minute. You can download it as a Word doc if you'd like, and then you can kind of mess with it. So if you just go to File, Download As, you could download this. Or if you're logged into your Google Drive account, you can add it to your Google Drive. But this is just one thing. I find like it's just one less thing that I have to do. So if someone just kind of gives you, here's kind of a plan to work from for your initial meeting, steal it and use it. Hopefully it's useful. You could minimize it. Thanks. If it lets you. No, a little bit higher.
To the right?
Oh, here.
Yes. Thank you. And if you didn't catch that link, they're all at the last slide as well. Okay, so the second thing we worked on and revamped was our course development process. And I do need to say thank you to Oswego because they did share with us their timeline of how they develop courses. And we kind of took that, we remixed it, we reworked it for what was going to work for us at MCC. And it's broken out into 18 weeks, into these different phases. And this link here will send you to a link for what we call our handbook, which contains a breakdown of each of these phases. And by breakdown, I mean like each line, each task within each phase. It also contains some basic, you're not supposed to read this. These are just a couple snapshots from the handbook. It contains just some information for the instructor. As far as this is what this model looks like. This is what the process is that we're going to go through. This is what the instructional design team, this is who's who on the team and who's responsible for what. And then the team leader, the instructional designer, it just kind of describes their role. So they kind of have that information, they're digesting that as they're beginning the course development process. And of course, we all are familiar with the Oscar rubric. That's also part of that package that we give the instructor day one. It also contains, I know we're all familiar with how to map out a course, but we also include in that packet a module planner. The reason I wanted to bring this up today, though, is because we don't just have faculty members fill this out when they're developing a course for the first time, which is how we all start, right? When we're mapping out a course, we start with the learning objectives, we work backwards. What I found is a lot of instructors who are refreshing their course, so it's a course they've taught for many years, they go through this exercise just to kind of get a new, fresh look at their course, and they discover areas in the course where they say, hey, you know what? Module 3, I really don't love how the content is delivered because I always get the same questions here, and I'm always finding myself answering the same questions. So I think I want to work on that. And then they bring this to our team meeting, and those are the points that we focus on during that first meeting. And we really get some great ideas going and some really fruitful conversation. So I would say, again, this is part of that download from that other link. But this has been a really useful tool. I was expecting more for new development, but it's actually become a really great tool for refreshes. Chrissy, do you remember if you filled this out last summer? Okay.
I did a refresh last summer, but my refresh also was a new textbook for me too.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of new modularizing, and I did use this. And one thing I wanted to say about the Oscar rubric, as you probably already know, it's very intimidating. This thing was much easier for us than that rubric, because I initially looked at the rubric and I went, I'm not going to fill this out. I'm not going to do all this stuff. When I got to this sheet, I thought, this is a little bit easier. So those of you who are going to use this, don't focus with faculty as much on the rubric. Use something a little more simplistic like this, because I wanted to run the other direction when I saw that.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to talk about that.
It's very intimidating.
It is, definitely. These two snapshots are basically part of that download previously. These are those phases, and I know you can't really read this, that's why we have the link. These are all the tasks within each phase, and we actually apply dates. And this is another thing that might be overwhelming to the faculty member right at the beginning when we hand this huge 18-week list of all these dates. But really what this communicates is we have a plan. We know that there's a go live date for this course, and here's our plan to get this done by that go live date. And what this actually serves as is a project management tool for the instructional designer, because especially if you have multiple courses going on at the same time with multiple faculty members, you need to make sure all of these different things are getting done, especially if you're doing that team approach, because you need to touch base with the librarian. Maybe they're doing some research for this course, and this multimedia, the specialist is trying to put a video together for this course. You want to make sure that you are kind of on top of that. And we have in our office, I would call her like a Microsoft Access wizard, who put this together for us. We looked into some other project management software. Maybe someday we will use a different solution. We did this using Access, but if she wasn't there, we wouldn't be able to figure it out. So all we need to do at this point is just kind of adjust the dates every cycle, and it gives us our plan. But again, we give this for information for the faculty member, but it really is useful for the instructional designer who's managing that whole thing. So this is kind of what Christy was just touching on. When we get the rubric, we hand out the rubric, because it's part of that initial documentation, because they need to know, this is the foundation of the design for the course. This is what the standard is. You do get that, I want to run the other way, I didn't sign up for this kind of thing. And there's a couple different things when they see a rubric. It's like, are we assessing my course? And so there's a couple things that I like to say right off the bat. One thing is that there's no perfect online course. Every single course you could take that Oscar rubric, and we can identify areas where you feel you want to improve, and then the question is, well, what's the next step, right? There's a next step for every course. Another thing is, what I like to show them is that they're doing, for the most part, they're doing a lot of what is on that rubric, and so we're using this rubric to confirm what you are doing in your course. That really is helpful. The other thing we did is we thought, well, if there's any way we can take these standards from the rubric and really help the faculty member along, how could we do that? That's where we came up with the course template. So that link right there is a link to a zip file that you could import into Blackboard if you wanted to take a look at what we put together for the template. Christy, would you mind clicking on that one? Because this one's it looks a little weird in Google Drive. I just want to show you. If you click on it, it's going to show you the contents of the zip file, which you don't need. All you're going to do is click on the little down arrow at the top to download it, and it will download the zip file. So just kind of as a heads up, this looks strange, but you never need to really get into the contents of a zip file for a Blackboard course. That's it.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I guess there's maybe, like for me, we use Moodle, we don't use Blackboard. So in order for me to see something like that.
Right. That's a good question. Let me think about that. I could show you, yes?
You can also export the course the same way.
Into Moodle?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, give it a shot. But I didn't think of that, so that's good. Yeah, and if anyone else wants to see it but can't import it into something, let me know, and we can set something up so you can take a look at it. But what we did for the template was we had the Oscar rubric in front of us, and we just developed this template, and we tried to hit as many criteria on the Oscar rubric and kind of built it into the template. So this is just kind of a snapshot of our Welcome Here page, or Welcome Start Here. As you can see, it's made to be customized. Obviously, the instructor is just going to edit this front page and then start, building into the template. But what I like to show them is if they use the template, they actually get to, you can start kind of checking things off the rubric right off the bat, just based on the template. Obviously, we can't do that for everything, but we do kind of set them on the path to satisfy, the criteria on the rubric. Now, I developed a different PowerPoint. I think I call it like Oscar Defined or something like that, because what I like to show is, I think sometimes the rubric can seem a little bit abstract when you're trying to picture what does this look like in a course. So we have the template to kind of show them, but again, when you take a look at the rubric, you can't really visualize what all of this looks like in a course. So I do have another PowerPoint that goes through a majority of the criteria from the rubric, and it shows them this is what it looks like in our template, this is what it looks like in an online course. So a lot of times if I go to a department meeting and we're going to kind of refresh the courses within that department, I bring that PowerPoint and we take a look, and they start to feel a little bit better. They're like, okay, I understand. This isn't going to, this isn't all my weekends in summer, they're not gone. Mm-hmm. I'm doing a lot of this, and I can visualize what these kinds of things look like, in an online course. So the other PowerPoint is about 40-something slides long. This one is, I only have a couple different examples of what this looks like. And then, Christy, I know you wanted to mention something about this slide.
Yes, this one I love because down where it has the college policies, every year we have to have all of the college policies included in both our lecture and the online courses. What's nice about this one is that the instructional design team loads those for all of us. So it's across the board, we never forget about it because I can't tell you how many times I'd go back 2 semesters later and go, oh, ooh, forgot to change that. So we don't even have to worry about that college policy section. It's basically all I ever change are the general policy, my own policies, and the course policies.
Yeah, and that's done, Martha Kendall, a lot of people know Martha, she set that up. She used content collection. I don't know all the ins and outs of how she did this wizardry, but she used content collection. So everything within this module, this learning module, college policies, they're all kind of HTML links out to content collection. So she makes her changes there, and anyone who has that learning module in their course, you know, they get the updates. So that's one thing we did that you pointed out to kind of help do the work. So the big question, so that was everything we kind of revamped. So we had that charge about 1.5 years ago. We need to offer a couple Open SUNY Plus degrees. We had to figure out how we were going to, design those, how we were going to assure the quality of those. And again, we decided to not only apply all of this for any courses that are going to be part of an Open SUNY Plus degree, but just campus-wide. This is now, you know, moving forward, whether it's a course that's new to online or it's a refresh, we're going to apply this process. And so far, we've been doing it. It's been going okay. So how did it actually go? So again, last spring, summer, we worked on 2 degrees, math and sports management, and we worked on 13 courses. 2 were brand new, 11 were refreshes. And I got to say this is a win. All the faculty that were involved completed the survey. That's a plus, right? That doesn't always happen, but they all did. Thank you. Thank you. So I just wanted to share some of this because, you know, we definitely brought these folks through this new process that was new to all of us, and you just never know what everyone's really thinking. They'll tell you that, oh, I really liked it, but you know, who knows? Right. So anonymously, this is what they said. Were they satisfied with that team approach? Again, this was new to us at MCC, and you can see that everyone was satisfied. It was just kind of a matter of to what degree. The next question here, how satisfied were you with the end product, your newly designed courses? So again, these are brand new online courses or refreshed. And again, everyone was really satisfied. So that was also good news. So that kind of told us that I think our template was doing what we wanted it to do. And then would you recommend this process to one of your colleagues? And this one I love because everyone would recommend it. So we felt like, okay, we're kind of on track here to do something that people seem to be happy with. And we're also hearing back through these departments from students that they're appreciating some of the consistency with the template. I don't know, Christy, if you want to speak to that at all.
As far as the consistency, yes, we've gone to several of our courses now use this template, which is great because if a student takes one class and then another class, they pretty much know where everything is. But as far as for my classes, I teach Stat 2 online and Stat 1, everybody's favorite courses. And, yeah, nobody ever takes them unless they have to. And I have gotten so many less questions about where do I find this, how do I do that, than I ever did before. And I don't know if it's so much because the consistency with the template or the fact that the template is so easily readable, they can understand where everything is, the flow is really nice. So I've had great feedback from the students.
Good. And I'll say that was, and Andy, you could probably attest to this, I'm going to call you out. Probably the biggest complaint we were getting from students was they did not appreciate the inconsistency from course to course. And it didn't mean that the courses were not well designed, it just meant they were very different from one to the other, or they could have also been not as well designed as they could have been. But that was the one that we kept hearing. So that was also a reason a big reason why we wanted to develop a template and try to see how it would go. So far, so good. It's been a year and a half. Another win, I would say, is some of these courses, specifically in math, were identified as exemplary courses, Christy being one of them.
Thank you.
Which were, I don't know, if you haven't been to this website, SUNY's Exemplary Courses for Observation, it's a great site where you could check out other courses from other institutions and kind of right inside of Blackboard, and it's been really useful. So 3 of those were there, so we felt really good about that as well. And that's kind of it. So it was a success.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell, it was a success. And again, the links for all those different documents are up here. Our email addresses are up here. But yeah, it was kind of a crazy ride through the last year and a half, but I'm really glad we went through it. There's a lot of things that I was skeptical about just because we hadn't done them before, but on the other side of it, it went well. And we have some quality courses as a result, and we're still, kind of trucking through with other departments. So we will attempt to answer any questions at this time if you have any. Yes?
Yeah, I have a question. Or a request. Could you explain a little bit, because this team approach requires basically a sign-off from the director of the library and various, because if you have these different people coming together,
Yeah.
can you explain how that worked for you, how that went about, how you were able to get this whole approach
Right.
approved to start?
Sure. I mean, Larry, if I miss anything, please jump in. I'm so glad that you're here. So those 4 people, as far as the multimedia specialist, he's within our department. So that was easy. As far as the librarians go, the director wanted them to be part of that process. So there was not a kind of a sign off that I'm not sure, Larry. You might know if they just were willing to jump in and help. They wanted to be involved. They wanted to be part of the process. Help build the courses, do the research, which has been great. I will say about that team, I know it's going to look different at every institution based on kind of manpower, resources. I know at MCC, there's 2 of us, 2 instructional designers who are leading these meetings. And of course, the faculty member depends on the course. The multimedia specialist, we have 1 of him, and he's super, he's an awesome guy. He loves to do this. He's all in, so that we're really thankful and fortunate that we have him. And then as far as the librarians go, we do have several librarians who are liaisons for different departments. So I can imagine if you didn't have as many, let's say, librarians, you'd be starting to really stretch some people at certain times. Because it does get intense, like especially when you're doing it as a department. Last year we had 2 librarians working with us, but so they were each in several meetings at certain times during that development cycle. And so it can be, there's usually like a 2-week window here and a 2-week window here where you're having a lot of meetings. The first time you're really setting goals, you're talking about who's going to do what for this course, and then that other meeting is kind of in the middle of the development cycle where we're just touching base. Where are we? Do we need to make any changes? We have the rubric in front of us, and we're working on the course. So it can be intense at times with meetings during those windows.
And I could actually see points or certain courses that you might not need certain people. For example, in my math course, no offense to the librarians, but I really didn't need a librarian available to me. I use the instructional designer most of the time. So I think it would be different courses, different programs would require. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I'd also say that what was interesting about these meetings is it wasn't like the librarian would only talk about research, or the multimedia specialist would only talk about audio, video. Everyone was throwing in ideas or asking each other. Since you had those people around the table, you could ask certain questions that could get answered and generate some really quality discussion. So even in a course that might not typically use the librarian for research, having them there was always beneficial as well, I thought. Yeah. Yes?
So for you did like 17 courses in the spring, summer, but what was what was your scheduling like? How many of you were working on simultaneously? Kind of batching them in cohorts, or they just all over
So, right, so last spring and summer, actually it was 11 and 2, so it was, I mean, it's still a lot. But they all started around the same time. I think it was in maybe mid-April. So that's when there was that kind of intense 2-week window where we had all those meetings. And then based on the needs of the course, you know, I would then kind of schedule out with each instructor maybe separate times that I would have one-on-one meetings with them, just kind of touch base. Someone talked about different needs for different courses. Every instructor is also going to, you know, we all have different needs for the development process. Some might be more intense with, you know, really trying to get acclimated to some of the tools within the learning management system, or others might be like, you know, really, I got this. You know, so you kind of had to gauge the needs, you know, for each course, for each instructor, and then that would kind of determine the time that you're spending. And again, we just kind of went through it and just did it, and it happened. We got all the courses done. I'm going through another cohort this summer, and so it's, you know, we'll see how this one comes out. But yeah, so as far as time management, that is a big piece of it, and that's where those phases really helped with all those different tasks, because it really helped you see where you were in the whole timeline to get it done. Eric, I think you had a question?
Yeah, what additional support or resources did you give faculty for the accessibility side of the course?
That's a great question. We partnered with a captioning company to caption videos, because that was a big piece of it. We had a lot of videos that we were creating, because we had everyone create a welcome, you know, like an intro video, and I mentioned the interviews. That was a piece of it. So we kind of started there, and we've just been, since then we've been researching what else do we need to do. You know, there is the accessibility rubric, that version of the Oscar rubric. So we also had that in front of us when we built the template, and that was part of the conversation as we built the course. But again, I think we're still on a, that is another journey, I think, for us at MCC, as we're working towards making our courses more accessible. I feel like that's always something we're working towards. But I would say in that first cohort, it was definitely captioning and just using that Oscar accessibility rubric. Yeah, sure. We're good? Okay. Well, thank you all. I appreciate it.